Chapter 16. Down, Down, Down. Of all the treats in the entire world, celery sticks, baby carrots, orange slices, Gulliver liked dandelions best. It took him less than 5 seconds to eat an entire stem, and then he'd root around for more. For Gulliver, dandelions were a rare delicacy. For humans, they were noxious weeds that needed to stop growing, but grow they did. Dandelions were everywhere in Virgil's neighborhood. They sprouted from the cracks in the sidewalk, leaned against rusty fence posts, sneaked into well-manicured lawns. Virgil plucked them habitually, like an explorer searching for gems. By the time he reached the woods, his left pocket was stuffed with them. He could have stuffed the other pocket, too, but he was saving that for the stones. He wasn't allowed to explore the woods alone. The trees were thick in some places and sparse in others. Flowers grew intermittently, a patch of iris here, a colony of dandelions there. Lola was convinced the woods teemed with snakes. But Virgil was certain that he could find 5 stones here, and not just any stones, but the best stones his town had to offer. He found 2 right away, just a few feet into the woods. Deeper in, the sounds of the neighborhood faded away and he found another, just like that. He was so focused on looking down, surveying the ground with his eyes that he barely noticed the ominous rustling sound behind him. But when he heard the shuffle of feet, he jerked around, heart pounding, and stood very, very still. If there was one thing he knew, it was that you had to stay still when faced with forest beasts. Otherwise, you could become their supper. He didn't see anything, but he was certain he had heard something, and it wasn't the blowing of the wind or the falling of a twig. Someone, or something, was moving nearby. "Hello?" Virgil said, quietly, like a croak. He thought he heard something, a growl, a snort. He suddenly got the idea that there was a rhinoceros on the other side of the trees, pawing its front hoof in the dirt, bowing its head, steadying its horn, ready to charge. He imagined himself being flung into the air and landing on the thick gray skin of the giant creature before being trampled. One of Lola's old ghost stories popped into his head, too. She said there was once an old man who told all his secrets to the trees, and after he died, the trees whispered them to anyone who passed by. Maybe it wasn't a rhinoceros, but a bunch of old trees that were ready to tell the secrets of the dead. Virgil looked at his phone. It was 10:15. Maybe he'd just snatch up the next stones he saw and rush to Kaori's house. She might not mind if he got there early. But then the shuffling sound receded and disappeared, and the woods were quiet again. Virgil exhaled. His heart slowed. He looked at his feet, saw a 4th stone, and put it in his pocket. He wondered if he'd picked the best ones. He wondered so deeply that he didn't hear the other shuffling sound, this time approaching from behind. "Hey, retardo!" Virgil turned around, startled. Chet Bullen's meaty face was a light shade of red, like it was ready to burst. "What are you doing out here all by yourself? Lost your mommy?" It occurred to Virgil that the bull was also out here by himself, but he wasn't about to point that out. Instead, Virgil said nothing. He stood there, one pocket full of stones and the other full of dandelions, feeling very dumb, like someone had lifted him out of one story and placed him in another, in these unfamiliar words, in this unfamiliar situation, alone with the bull who was carrying a pillowcase. Virgil wondered what the pillowcase was for, and in the space of about 3 seconds he thought of a handful of terrifying scenarios. The bull would smother him with it. He was using it to carry the bodies of dead animals. He was going to capture animals, smother them, then carry their dead bodies. And Chet wasn't just carrying a pillowcase. He was also wearing a Chicago Bulls t-shirt. Beware the color red. Suddenly the rhinoceros didn't seem so bad. "What's the matter?" the bull said. "Oh yeah, I forgot. You don't know how to talk. You're a retard. I see you going into that retard class all the time. What goes on in there anyways? A bunch of kids wetting their pants, I bet." In addition to being afraid of the dark, carrying a guinea pig in his backpack, and stuffing his pockets full of dandelions and rocks, Virgil had another secret. He weighed only 76 pounds, and even though he pretended to be 5 feet tall, he was actually 4 foot 11. Virgil wasn't sure how much the bull weighed or how tall he was, but he certainly weighed more than 76 pounds. "You really are stupid, huh?" the bull said. His eyes shifted to Virgil's backpack. Chet took a step forward, and Virgil took a step back, which the bull thought was hilarious because he immediately broke into peals of laughter before ripping Virgil's backpack off his shoulders with such force that Virgil actually spun, and hit the ground with a numbing whack that shot from the palms of his hands to his shoulders. The bull took off like a bullet. Virgil pushed himself up and ran after him, saying, "No, no, no!" in the loudest voice he could manage without choking. "Gulliver! Gulliver!" he cried. Or maybe he only said it in his head. He wasn't sure. The bull darted between the trees, not laughing anymore, just running with Virgil's backpack in his hands. A million horrifying images blazed through Virgil's mind. The bull tearing Gulliver in two, feeding him to a pit of lions, picking him up and tossing him into the trees, which is why he didn't feel any better when the bull finally stopped running and turned to face him, his cheeks flushed and his neck and hairline glistening. Virgil waited for him to open the backpack, discover Gulliver, and destroy him. Instead, the bull took a giant step back, grinned evilly, and turned toward a stumpy circle of stones that Virgil had never noticed before. It was an old well. With two hefty shoves, the bull pushed the cover of the well aside and dangled the backpack over the now open hole. "Say bye-bye to your stuff, retardo," he said. The bull let go, and the bag fell into the dark, gaping well, so far down that Virgil didn't even hear it land. "Guess you'll have to get new books, pansy boy," the bull said, his smile widening. "Not that you need them anyway, since you probably don't know how to read." The bull wiped his hands on the front of his jeans as if he'd just finished a dirty, dirty deed, which he had, and then he turned and walked away, disappearing into the woods and leaving Virgil alone.